Hi everybody, it's Benjamin Krudwig from Benjamin Krudwig Creative Arts, and in today's video we're going to be talking about creativity. Specifically, we're going to be talking about creativity in a time of quarantine. However, I think that this talk can span more than just this current time that we're living in. For historical purposes, it is currently the beginning of April, and most of the world is in a lockdown or shutdown based on coronavirus or COVID-19. And this has caused a lot of people to be stuck at home, laid off potentially, working from home, becoming teachers to their children or surrogate teachers to their children. And some people have a lot more time on their hands than they did before. And so I thought that this might be a good time to discuss ways that you can really use this time to your advantage, and ways that if you're not feeling particularly creative because of the circumstances, how you can boost that feeling of energy, that feeling of creativity, etc. I've broken it down into a few parts in this video. I find having gone through quarantine now for about 4 weeks, I have gone through a series of different emotions regarding, this creatively speaking. One of them is the fact that first I had an extra boost of creativity. I thought, wow, this is great. I have so much time on my hands. I'm going to make stuff all the time. And then after I kind of had that honeymoon period of, excitement and I have all this stuff that I can do, I started to have a lack of creativity or a lack of creative energy. So I've broken it down into 6 parts of what I think can cause that sometimes. This is not necessarily an end-all be-all list of what causes a lack of creativity, but I think this is a good place to start. The first one is maybe it's your mental state. Or maybe it's a lack of energy, like physical energy, so your physical state. It could be that your idea well has run dry, that you don't feel like you have that many ideas. Could be an overabundance of ideas. That's kind of an ironic thought, and we'll go into that later. Maybe it's a lack of time, or maybe it's a lack of clear boundaries between segments of your life. So the first one is basically a lack of mental energy or just your mental state. I know that this has caused a lot of people to have, quite a bit of anxiety, depression, anger, lots of different feelings. A lot of us are going through grief of what our lives were, what they could have been. Just kind of the fact that the status quo has changed so much for each of us. Some of us are going through a grieving process, and so you will go through the stages of grief, anger, denial, all sorts of things, sadness. And that's totally natural and totally normal. I want people to realize that I'm not trying to make you feel any different. I want you to approach this when you can or how you can. So some things that I have found have helped me when I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious about this is just stop. Stop everything, breathe, take a few deep breaths, and just clear my mind. Ask yourself, what is it that you're struggling with? Really sit with your thoughts and feelings. Turn your phone off, turn your computer off, turn the TV off, and just sit with your thoughts for a little bit. I know that sometimes when I do this, my mind is just racing. It has too many thoughts for me to really sort through. So I would recommend getting your journal out and, or a pen and paper, whatever you have lying around, and just jot down all of the thoughts that are running through your head. Everything that's worrying you or bothering you or feeling that you must do or whatever you're stressed out about, write them all out. I find sometimes just the act of writing things out helps me significantly. I can tell which days I've done that and which days I haven't just by my mental state at the end of the day. Once you have everything written down, it can become a lot more manageable, and you can even take a step further and write down next to each of the things that's bothering you a solution, if you have one. Another thing that I find is helpful for me is reciting a mantra. So especially when I'm feeling overwhelmed or anxious, I like to just stop and say, I have the skills and tools necessary to overcome this. I have the skills and tools necessary to get through this. And what I like about that mantra is that it's not just a everything is going to be okay. That's not how my brain works. When I hear everything's going to be okay, I don't believe it. It's just I can't handle that. So I think, okay, if I have the skills and tools necessary to overcome this, that means I have the strength from within to be able to approach whatever is happening, whatever is going on. And honestly, that helps quite a bit when I look in the mirror and just say it a few times, once isn't enough. I say it a few times and it really, really helps my mental state. Another thing that I like to do is listen to music to really get me in the creative mood. I have certain artists and types of music that I listen to for different projects and different mediums. So for my last collection, I listened to a lot of Nordic music like Aurora, Ivor, a lot of Scandinavian artists. It really got me in that specific headspace for one reason or another. Music is really kind of magical in that sense that it can immediately transport you into it'll hijack your brain and switch how you feel just based on what you're listening to. Another thing that's similar to that is like scent, smells. So if you have a candle that you really like, just makes you feel good, maybe it's apples and cinnamon or sugar cookie or Bahama breeze, it might just help hijack your brain into thinking, oh, things are good, everything is good and hunky-dory, and you can feel a little bit more creative. Another thing that I think people forget about, I know I do, is when was the last time that you ate or drank something? Sometimes when my brain is really foggy, it basically means that I either need to eat a snack or I need to drink some water. That frequently is the cause of my what's going on? I'll just feel dazed and confused and tired and not understand why. It might not be that you're depressed. It might be that you're hungry. I know that sometimes I don't always know which one is which. So just eat a snack. Just try it out and see if that boost of blood sugar helps your mind frame. Besides a lack of mental energy, you might have a lack of actual physical energy, that you might just feel weak or lethargic. I know that at least the last few weeks, my days have just kind of felt like they've been running one into another and I don't have a structure. So I feel like, okay, I'm just gonna sit on the couch. Here are some things to watch out for is the idea of when you don't really have a schedule or have a structure, that you'll start the day saying, yeah, I have all day to get this done. I have all day to work on this. Well, I know that I tend to tell myself that lie every hour on the hour. Like, oh, I'll get started in an hour. I'll get started in 15 minutes. And I don't actually get started. And so by the end of the day, I haven't done anything but sit on the couch. So here's my recommendations on getting that boost of physical energy. Number one, just get dressed. Get dressed first thing in the morning. It helps kind of psych your brain out that, okay, I'm out of pajamas and I'm in clothing. So that kind of gives you that feeling of it's time to be productive. It's time to be energetic. Wear your favorite outfit, first. Then, once you're dressed, create a to-do list, a physical to-do list, a physical schedule of everything that you want to get done during the day. It's so energizing to do this. Like, my body actually feels more energetic once I've gotten a to-do list written. The other thing is that you get a little hit of dopamine and serotonin when you cross something off of your to-do list. It is fantastic. I write even the little things down. So it might be as simple as brush your teeth, that granular detail. You do it, cross off your list. So start doing that. I find that my to-do lists, I like to do a weekly to-do list rather than a daily to-do list. Some people like dailies. It's whatever works for you. I find that I do have I segment it. So here's my daily list of things that I need to get done, and then here's my week at a glance. That helps me prepare for the week to come, and I feel like, okay, I have this momentum now. The next thing that I think is very, very important, especially during times like these, if you're working from home or you are laid off and you're just at home, stay active. Try to do at least 10 to 30 minutes a day of activity. So I know a lot of us aren't allowed outside or allowed at the gym, but even just doing jumping jacks or jogging in place, doing some high knees, I think that it's fun to do like a little challenge of see how many push-ups you can do in a row. Really, really push yourself. If you are allowed to go outside, take a walk. Have just a lovely time out in the sun. This activity helps the blood flow. It gives increased oxygen flow to your brain and to the rest of your body, and it's going to make you feel more refreshed and awake. I know a lot of people think that working out is going to make them tired out later. Maybe in the evening you're going to start feeling tired. The next day you might feel sore, but in general you're going to feel a lot more energy and a lot more awake during the day. Another thing that I think is important to feel physically energetic is that you should be trying to eat healthy foods. Drink lots of water. Try to limit your alcohol and sugar consumption. I know especially during these times, it's kind of like a running joke, of having a bottle of wine every night or whatever it might be, but that actually can slow down your body and make you feel physically tired. Putting vitamins and nutrients into your body, making sure that you're getting those really good for you things that your body needs to function, that's gonna also make you feel a little bit more energetic and ready to tackle your day. And again, I already mentioned this, but try to go outside. If you have a backyard or a front porch and the weather is permitting, go outside and feel that sun on your face. A little vitamin D is really, really good for both your mind and your body. So I think that can help you get the mental energy and the physical energy to be creative. Okay, so now that we've talked about how you can, boost your mental and physical energy, that way you can then feel a little bit more creative, I wanted to talk more about ideas, right? So I think that what I've noticed is that what can stop me from being creative is either a lack of ideas or an overabundance of ideas. This can happen for any variety of reasons, and it can be equally frustrating both when you have not enough ideas or when you have too many ideas. I don't really believe in not enough or too many. It's just that they're either misplaced or that you have yet to uncover them. There's a great book called The Artist's Way, and it's by Julia Cameron. Fantastic book. It's about how you can really unlock all of your potential as an artist, as a creator. And she has something, or she has an idea that's called the pond or idea well, whatever it might be that you want to call it, that ideas come from. And that well is not bottomless. It doesn't, it's not never ending. It sometimes needs to be filled back up with inspiration. During these times where we're not really allowed to go outside very much, a lot of businesses are closed and you can't go do the things that you want to go do, I think that can make things feel very stale and that you feel like a lot of input, like new input, isn't coming in. I know that I really want to go to the museum. I would love to go to the symphony. I would love to go outside. I would love to take a walk along the beach and really just like explore new things and fill that back up. However, I can't do that right now. So here are some things that I think can help fill your idea well back up. Try to consume media that is really inspirational to you. So is there a topic that you find very fascinating? Like for me, it's fashion. So I've been taking in fashion documentaries, fashion shows, doing more reading, about different fashion designers throughout the ages. That's really giving me a lot of excitement. Other things that you can do are, follow artists on Instagram or on YouTube and see them create stuff for themselves. Take those virtual tours of museums that some museums around the world are putting up. Look at galleries of, art online, and just really try to fill that up. Again, if you are allowed to go outside, walk around your neighborhood with a different, um, lens, I guess, if you want to say, and see like, oh, well, that shape is interesting or that color is interesting. I know it's currently springtime in a lot of the northern hemisphere, and so flowers are blooming every day and it's changing all the time. It can be really interesting to just look at those changes in the world and go, okay, that's really beautiful. One thing is, I'm also trying to limit my other media intake. So I call like junk media, like junk food media. That's reality TV show. That's those shows on YouTube that are like gossip or just silly. I am trying to limit my video game playing, just trying to limit all of that. I'm definitely limiting my Facebook intake and some of the news media because I'm just finding it, it doesn't help my mental state to be reading that over and over and over again. I'd rather be spending that time creating or do something fulfilling for myself. One thing that I think can help is just try to spend 15 minutes every day creating something with no expectations and no judgment. Just sit down and go for it. Just do whatever. Doodle if you want, splash paint on something. Just don't judge it. Don't go into it thinking that you're going to be making anything in particular. Just allow yourself to play. I find that can really help jostle ideas loose. So maybe I'm just messing around with fabric and I'm pleating it or I am twisting it. Sometimes that makes me go, oh my gosh, this is really, really interesting form. And I'll be able to sketch something out later, and having that record or just having that time to play without any pretense or without any expectation makes me feel better as a creator that I'm not expected to make something perfect. Now, you might have a lack of ideas, but ironically, you might feel like you have too many ideas. I suffer from this usually at like 3 a.m. And what I find helps is first, write it all down. Write all of the ideas down that are running through your head. Don't try to think that you'll remember them later, because that almost never happens for me. Unless it's that one idea that's just like really nailing it to my brain. Generally it's just, oh, there's all these different ideas. Write them down in an idea journal, and then, depending on what kind of person you are, pick one and get started. If that doesn't work, if you kind of have analysis paralysis, then what I would suggest next is draw a star next to all of the ideas that are most interesting to you. So it doesn't matter who it is, like don't think about other people, just is it interesting enough to you? If that still doesn't help narrow it down, then let fate decide. What I mean by that is assign each of those ideas a number, and then using a random number generator, so there's one as simple as it is, random.org, put in the range of numbers and then hit generate and it'll pick a number. Whatever that number corresponds to whatever idea is on your list, get started on that one. That can be a lot of fun. It takes the pressure off of you to decide where to go, if that makes sense. Another idea is, if there are communities on Facebook and Instagram that are for your art or your medium, see if there's any challenges going on. There was one that I really loved called Inktober, and for every day in the month of October, you draw something based on the prompt that they give you. It just, it's one of those things that if you have too many ideas, that's a really great thing. It's really good to write them down before, you have a time like this where there's quite a bit of time for some of us to just make. So isn't it great that you have this list of ideas that you wrote down, a week ago or 2 weeks ago that you can then pick from? Now, so besides ideas, I think I'd be remiss to not bring up the fact that everything has changed for people. So I'm going to talk more about the life circumstances that might currently, and maybe even in general, stop you from being able to pursue your creative endeavors. Maybe you've lost a job. Maybe you're working from home. Maybe your spouse or your significant other is home. Maybe you have kids and they're home. Maybe you are now homeschooling them and teaching them or aiding them to be taught. There's so many different factors right now that are difficult for all of us. And so we might find ourselves with a lot less time than before the quarantine. It's different for everybody, different levels of, you might have different levels of being affected by this situation. When I started working from home a few years ago, and then I went back into the workforce, and now I work from home again, I had to adjust to being at home all the time. And I've learned some things that have helped me stay productive and stay creative that might help you. I found what my biggest obstacle was the lack of clear boundaries between my different segments of life. So my life, with family, my life with like cooking and cleaning, my creative endeavors versus work endeavors. There wasn't a clear delineation. Here's some things that helped me. Again, sit down and write a schedule for your day. It can be pretty loose or it can be really regimented. Just whatever works for you. Whatever your schedule is, just write it down. This kind of helps you look at and see a structure that maybe wasn't there before, especially if you're all of a sudden at home 24 hours a day. I find it important, and this is for people, whether you're in a quarantine or not, try to carve out a special time for your creative pursuits. You might do this for a living, or you might just do it for a hobby or a passion. Whatever that might be, just make sure that you're carving out at least half an hour for yourself for that creative pursuit. This will help alleviate some of the pressures of feeling like you're not creating enough. That might be one thing that you feel. But also it might make you feel less resentful towards the other people that you're living with, thinking that you have to take care of them, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, just give yourself that time to create and don't feel guilty about it. Another thing that you can do is engage the other people who are in your space to share your space with you. Have them create with you. Maybe your kids are there and they've shown an interest in what you do, maybe. Get them involved in making something that you all can work on together. It brings you together closer, it creates memories and experiences, but also that allows you to get in that creative time. It might involve some hand holding, but at the end of the day, I think you're gonna be happy that you were able to do that. Another thing that I think is pretty important, especially now that the life boundaries are a little bit mixed up, is clear a space that is just for you and your creative pursuit. So whether that's like a corner in your office or a corner in the basement, or a section, or maybe it's a whole room. Maybe you have a studio space, or you have a bedroom that is vacant, who knows, whatever your situation is. Really carve out that space for yourself. If you need to claim it, to have people respect your boundaries, you can write out a sign, make a sign that says, Benjamin's creative space. And this is a visual reminder for yourself and for others that this area should not be touched or bothered except for when you're creating. This might not work for everyone. Maybe you can just say, for 30 minutes, the kitchen table is mine to do with whatever I'm going to do with. If space is a bit tighter now, just see if you can adapt with what's going on. Maybe you can't make that big mural that you're used to making before when nobody was in the house with you. Well, start thinking about working in miniatures and in smaller formats. You might get really I find that when artists are constrained with either materials, time, or color palettes, or size, actually some of the most creative things come out of those constraints. So really, really try it. I know that this time is really scary for a lot of people, and I know that all of these ideas aren't going to work for every single person. Let me know what you're struggling with, to get your creative juices flowing. Let me know in the comments down below, and we can have a little talk about it, and maybe I'll do another video about your particular topic. And I would love to just hear what you're doing to help yourself, help your creative juices flow. Something that I have thought to do now is start my own creativity challenge. So for the next 38 weeks, I believe it is, I'm going to do a new prompt every single week. This week it'll go up sooner than Friday, but in general, subsequent weeks it'll go up on Fridays. And whatever medium you work in, work with that prompt and see what you can create in that guideline throughout the week. I would love it if you could finish things by Wednesday or Thursday, or at least have them in progress by Wednesday or Thursday, and tag me on Facebook and Instagram. Use the hashtag on Instagram BKCA Challenge. So it's the Benjamin Krudwig Creative Arts Challenge 2020. So BKCA Challenge 2020. And then on Facebook, tag Benjamin Krudwig Creative Arts. It's my page. I just renamed my Facebook page. So please. And then each week there will be a new prompt. This week the prompt is identity. Whatever that means to you. I'm not going to force feed you what it means and what you need to create. So start making things, and I will post them on my Instagram and on Facebook, as well as on the next video on YouTube. So I'll share it in those different places. So thank you for having this chat, and I can't wait to sit down with you again. I have a lot of great videos coming up, so please, I can't wait to see what you're all making. Stay creative. Hey everyone, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to get more content like it. Also, don't forget to hit the little bell icon, that way you'll get notified every time I put on a new video. See you in the next one.